Hey guys, welcome to Serious Laughs. This is episode 14. Meet the wisest person in the world.
You know, Molly, true wisdom is knowing when to remain quiet in the face of a fool's verbal vomit.
Hey you guys, my name is Molly Berg and I used to live in South Korea.
Hello, everyone. I am female. I am from and currently residing on planet Earth. And I used to specifically reside in New York. But my love for the smell of skunks has always remained.
That's interesting. That's true.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I actually researched after I thought about sharing that with everyone today.
Okay.
Like what does
it
that
mean?
Well, so when a skunk feels, this is ironic. You can't make this up, guys. The garbage man is right in front of me. We're talking about skunks. So, moving on to other olfactory pleasures. I learned through Google. God, I sound so old. I did the Google
Through the website.
I went to www.whydouyolikeskunks.com and it said because you're fucking crazy. No, I found out that skunks, when they feel threatened, they secrete something from their glands. So maybe it's like a bonding thing. Like when I feel threatened, I fart, So we share that. Or it could just be I like the smell because it brings up memories of growing up in New York, and we would take trips upstate. And I was like, "What's that smell? It's skunk."
I thought maybe it's because you like to smoke some weed, some of the reefer.
Oh, I've never smoked weed. Let me put that on my to-do list.
Put that on your bucket list.
Should I put that before or after my traffic ticket?
Oh, let's do it after.
Let's do it after.
Let's do it after. Oh, that's funny.
Sorry, I'm late. I had to have some weed. That'll go over well.
Yeah.
So we're talking about those people, guys, who think they know it all. They're the smartest people in the room. Enron even referred to it, right? That documentary, the smartest people, the smartest guy in the room, or the smartest guys in the room.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
They think they know everything and everyone's below them. I think a lot of people call them narcissists, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to be, but these are the ones, they know you better than you know yourself. Those people. That's what we're talking about today. And so guys, I recently had an experience, and I write about this on Medium, about a woman in the supermarket who was
I remember when you told me this story. Yeah.
Oh, well, this is what I do, and this is how I pray, and this is what I know. I mean, just over, like, constantly talking about how smart she is, and how important it is to not judge people and be a good person, and that's what she is. And for some reason, I think whoever's in charge of the universe was having a good wink. My items ended up in her basket, and she just looked at her basket and said, "Well, what the hell crap is in my cart? I would never eat this junk." And I'm thinking, lady, didn't you just say you don't judge? You're judging right now. What the hell? So, if we could put that slide up, Molly.
Yeah. I like this one.
You want to read that?
Sure. It says, wisdom is knowing when to walk away from the hot air instead of joining in the halitosis hellhole of judgment. By yours truly, Sheri Jacobs.
Oh, is that me? Oh, my.
Yeah.
That was before the weed.
Well, yeah. So she basically saw what was in her cart and was like, how did this end up in here? This is disgusting. And you're like, that's mine. She was like, oh. And then she proceeded to tell you what was wrong with everything that you had chosen to buy at the grocery store.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Doubling down. Like, But instead, I had this moment, like almost like an out of body experience. I don't know if all the
Yeah.
meditation I'm doing is helping, because in my 20s and 30s, I would have probably done something reactionary. I would have been passive aggressive. I would have defended my position. There might have been a scene at the store. But at this point, I'm like, it's really not worth it. Like, she's going to be who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when someone behaves that way, I know it's about them. It's them patting their ego down and making sure it stays in place.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person doesn't want to look within, it's not my job to make it come off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you make a couple good points in your article too. So this happened and you said, here's a few things to note. You said, one, never asked for her opinion. So isn't it amazing? Like the people that know everything just assume that you want to hear what they have to say. And you never asked for it.
No.
She just went off. You also said two, she didn't know anything about you. True.
Nope.
And you also said, if I had just left right there and then, she would have just kept on talking. She would have found somebody else in line to just complain about the groceries that you had decided to buy.
Yeah. Because our external world is always reflecting back to us where we are in life. And I mean, that's why we love talking about relationships. So that was a relationship right there, guys. We have these microcosm-esque moments, these vignettes in our lives where we think, if you look at it on the surface, it's like, okay, you're at the grocery store getting groceries, whatever. But no, that was an opportunity to see where we each were in life. And I chose a path of, this isn't really worth it. And it shows me that I've grown there. I haven't grown in a lot of other places, but it did show me that I've grown. And because I was able to see, like you said, Molly, she's just going to find someone else to talk about and another excuse. And I had a compassion in that moment for the people in her life who have to live with her. She's a wife to someone. She's a mother to someone. Because if she's doing that to a stranger, what is she doing, to her kids? I would do that if I were you. I would do this, and you need to do that. And I know best.
Well, I was going to say too, as I was reading this, I feel like I'm very cautious about I'm not going to really give you my version of what advice would be unless you ask me, like, okay, what did you do? And then I always start it with, well, what worked for me was what I did and I found useful was, but I sat and I thought about this and I was like, God, do I do this? I definitely feel like I do it with my kids though. So, like as a parent, right, trust me, if I asked my 14-year-old who the wisest person in the world was, he would say me. He'd be like, oh, I am. 14-year-olds know everything, right? So we always kind of have to remind them, well, we got age on you, buddy. We have wisdom, we have experience on you. So in our experience, Magnus, this is what we can tell you. So I even find myself changing my the way I speak to him, because I also want him to be able to question me or say, but and like have a conversation about it. Well, have you ever done it this way, Mom, or this way? No, I haven't. Maybe we try it this way. So I definitely feel like I kind of do that with my kids, but I really try to be aware of letting them know that it comes from my personal experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a paradox, because on the one hand, we are born with intuition and wisdom. We have strong instincts, and there's a reason they say out of the mouths of babes. You put a kid in front of a couple that's fighting and they'll say, well, why are you always both so miserable? The adults don't want to hear that, but the kid's right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, their brain hasn't fully formed. They think they know everything, but they don't. So I think I commend you, Molly. I think that's a great way to put it. It's It's phrasing it in terms of, well, this is what worked for me, but you're going to figure out what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you're not taking away their independence that they're developing under your roof.
True.
You're not trying to steer away their natural inner guidance system, but you're also someone with experience that can offer them a different perspective. But that's not being the wisest person in the world. The wisest person in the world is the one that shuts everybody out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I like this quote. No, you go. You go.
Oh, darling. Oh, stop it. Stop it. All right. Come on. Come on. Go. Stop. Stay. Listen. Heal.
Start, stay, stop. Lick your butt.
Where are my Cheetos?
Doesn't make any
corn
sense.
chips. Those little paws.
Oh,
well, look, you mean the second quote or this one?
Well, I like this quote too. And I remember, is knowing when to walk away. I also think knowing when, although when you're dealing with somebody who thinks they fucking know everything, it is a little, it's hard to even think that maybe they might have a little bit of, maybe a point, but also knowing when to walk away, also knowing when maybe that idea works for me and then that idea doesn't work for me. You kind of picking and choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they're just offering up advice, which you really didn't ask for, so you're probably not going to be open much to it. But I do remember when I was in different acting classes and stuff I've taken, I forget who it was, an actor who was just like, you're going to probably find yourself in different acting classes. And the best advice I give students is to just take from those classes what really resonates with you and really works with you. And then leave the stuff that doesn't feel right to you. Just leave it. And then you kind of have you have different things, different methods and ways to go about handling that. But there again, in an acting class, I did go there for your advice. I asked for it, So I know there's kind of a fine line there, but
there are jewels to be taken from the wisest people in the world. We just don't always hear them if it's coming from someone obnoxious. It's like, oh, let me get wisdom from, an asshole. Like, it's defecating in my face. It's really smelly. I don't like this. It's raining down poop, but you know what? There's a little nugget here. I found a jewel. And to be fair, this woman that was so obnoxious I had gotten some veggie burgers for my son. He likes them. And all she talked about was how bad that was for you. It's damaging and you need to have real meat. And that quote about opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them, right? So, I mean, you could find, I have a Steve Bernstein, who was on the show. Yep. He said, Sheri, for Thanksgiving, I'm alone because I'm not going to go to someone's house and sit down with a murder for hire meal because he's a vegetarian and he's entitled.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know him, I might get really annoyed with him. Instead, I could look through the lens of friendship and compassion and say, woo, he has strong opinions. And, and he's not telling you or me or anyone else not to have meat. He makes that really clear. But that doesn't stop him from getting on his vegetarian soapbox and making little comments like, oh, sure, let's all sit down and be thankful. Oh, you don't have a turkey? What did you dressed up a dead carcass? That could be you or me. Sure, let's be thankful for this mutilated animal to fill our stomachs with and human, animal rights. Sure, yeah. Can you explain to me how you can sit with that? But yeah, no, I'd love to come for your Thanksgiving. So, and he's entitled to that.
Right.
But and there's different flavors of the wisest people. There's very strongly opinionated people with good hearts. There's the narcissist. I heard from a psychologist recently. She's online. I forgot her last name. She's British. I could just listen to her all the time. It's like Dr. Spellman. She said, we're all narcissists to a certain extent. We're all narcissists, but it's just, the level.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing. She gives an example like that. She's like me right now doing the show. I'm a bit of a narcissist.
Sure.
And we're doing that. So we do care, but it's when does it get to be too much? And ultimately only each individual can walk away with knowing what that is for him or her or them.
Yeah.
Or the dead carcass if they're still alive. No, they're dead. The carcass is dead.
The carcass is dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Hence carcass.
Well, okay. So we have this quote. Okay. Wisdom is knowing when to walk away. The halitosis, fucking great word. To walk away from
Isn't
the hot
that
air
great?
Joining in the halitosis hellhole of judgment.
It's the bad breath of emotion.
God. So you have a question. What is all that judgment about anyway? What is it about?
I think I know. I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to put it in your head.
No, you say it. What do you think?
I think when it's the double down version of judgment. I'm not talking about like judgment like, oh, it's yellow. I think I can make that. I'm not talking about that. Like, oh, look, I don't see cars coming either way. I think I can cross the road. Why do I become British when I'm crossing a road? Anyway, I think it's fine. We all do. Oh, excuse me, I have to cross the road. When we cross the road, so there's that kind of judgment. So we have to judge to live in this world. But I think the kind of judgment where it feels like a halitosis hellhole stems from insecurity. I need to be right and you need to be wrong because I don't want to look under my own personal psychological hood. I don't want to see what's there. I don't want to live with the fear that I could be not enough. I don't want to live with the fear that I don't matter. I don't want to live with the fear that I could be wrong. I don't want to live with the fear that my self-worth is tied to my accuracy. I think those are the reasons. Like that woman she needed me to know that those burgers were bad and I was filling my son's body with crap. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. The fact that she was so impassioned about it and it came, you don't even know me. There was no altruism. It was harsh. It wasn't, I want you to treat, I know I don't know you, but I really have to tell you the ingredients in there are not good for anyone. So just think about it, or research, do it for yourself. But she didn't do that. What kind of mother would give their kid, it's like,
ew, did she say that?
It would not
had that tone to it.
That tone of like I said, she looked at the card. She had just finished saying how she was such a good, I don't want to mention the religion, but such a good blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Muslim, Christian, Jewish. It doesn't matter. Right. It's the idea that like she was hiding behind religion, So she said she found her way through this religion. And so now she knew better. And she knows not to judge. It's important not to judge people. And she's such a good person. And then right on the heel, what the hell? What kind of crap is this? Excuse me, that's judgment.
And you put a couple, I think I call these signifier words on my notes here, or phrases, things like should, oh, you should do this, or wrong, phrases like what you need to do is, and you need to. I mean, those are
Right.
kind of those little indicators. We've talked about verbal indicators before in some of the podcasts before, and kind of like alert, alert, wisest person in the world coming your way. You should do it this way. What you need to do is, and boy, oh boy, when somebody says that, I am turned off immediately. It's like, la, 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 don't want to hear it. Now you've
No.
just put a wall between us.
Right. And what does it do to the sender? It makes them double down because they don't want to look under the hood. You need to do this. You should. You should. There's a famous quote: when you point a sword at someone, it's bending around back at you. Something to that effect.
Okay.
Like, it's like the poison you serve another serves yourself, that kind of thing. And so what happens when someone does this, with pointing at you, you shut down and they're left with what they did, which makes them insecure, which makes them double down again, which makes them wonder, like, why don't people like me? But instead of looking at that, they lash out with judgment. And it's just a vicious cycle. I really think if she felt good about herself, that woman, she would not need to announce to the world that her religion has saved her, in terms of making her like she was lost, now she's found. Good. But you need to keep looking. Sorry.
Got a little more digging to do, baby.
A little more digging.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
I do think it's fear. It's fear that you're not enough.
Oh, totally. That made sense the second it came out of your mouth. And I love the position the stance you took when it happened was. So what actually did you do? Did you just kind of grab your bags and say, I'll just take these? Or did you respond to her in any way verbally? Or I know you were very mature
the details,
about it.
but it was more like, all right, okay, But she just wasn't even apologetic. I think she was embarrassed for a second. Like she knew she had just put down what I had purchased.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, well, that's crap. It's like she doubled down. She's like, and then she went on to, I would never get things like that. And here's why. All justifying, all blaming, all shameful tactics to make herself feel better.
Yeah.
And again, shame is one of those words. Brene Brown says, the difference between guilt and shame is guilt says, I feel responsible for these things. Shame is, I am horrific. Like you personify the negativity as opposed to feeling bad about something. That was it. She says, if guilt is, I feel bad. Shame is, I am bad.
Yes. Yes. We talked about that once on another episode too. You used that quote. It's a great quote.
Oh, see,
it's amazing how often we can use it. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Oh, I love this because we were just kind of talking. The second slide we have here is from the 4 Agreements, and we've also referred to Don Miguel Ruiz before. Yeah, it's. Where's mine? I have a copy of it around here too, because I think I've said this before. I had to read it, and I had read it in high school. I had to read it before I started participating in one of my acting classes.
Oh,
because they just said they said it's just so important that you're going to get up and expose yourself. You're going to be vulnerable in front of class, people across the world, and this incredible instructor. And don't take things personally. You're here to be better and learn. And
what a great teacher!
Oh, he's great. Tom taught her off. Shout out, buddy. And Emily. It's don't take anything personally. Nothing other people do is because of you. It is because of themselves. Yes.
Yep. And he gives that extreme example. Even if someone shoots you, it was never about you. It was about them. And it was. Now it affects you personally because we'll say me. It affects me personally. If I'm shot, I'm now dead. So yeah, I was affected personally. But it was never, the shooting was never about me. It was about the
Mhm.
person holding the gun. They hate themselves. They could say, "Oh, I hate that person," but look what happens with homicides. You have homicide suicides, right?
Right.
Why? There was that famous actor. Oh my God, he was so funny. It's a SNL
Phil
actor, and
Hartman?
his yes, and his wife took his life, and then she took
That's
her own.
right.
It's that poison that we think temporarily, perhaps, that if we shoot another with this hatred, that the problem will go away. But the person on the other end of the gun wasn't the problem. The problem was
Mhm.
coming from within, which
Yeah.
is why you see so many, even with school shootings, the murderer becomes the victim, him or
Mhm.
herself. Um, and isn't that the most ultimate wisest person in the world, the one who says, I know better than everyone else, and I'm going to show them. They announce it on social media before the shootings a lot of times.
Mhm.
Um, and we know the way the story goes. So
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of wise people out there who are filled with pain. I think it takes great courage to admit, I don't know what's next. It takes
Mhm.
great courage to say, I'm scared.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. But we don't want to do
Big
that.
time.
Wise
No.
people don't want to do that.
Whoops.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Whoops.
That's okay.
What's
We
this?
need to do it again. We need to do it again. Um, but yeah, I think that the wisest person in the world is rife with low self-esteem.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
We were looking at our notes, guys.
We need our notes because we're
As much
not the
as you think.
wisest people in the world. If
That's
we
right.
were, you wouldn't want to listen to
Listen.
us.
Yeah.
You'd be like, Mom and Sheri, they think they know all that. But I like them because they belong on a special bus.
We might be the weirdest people on earth. We're weird. Yeah. Do you ever feel like there was a time in your life where you thought you were the wisest person in the world? I mean, because you mentioned that it's kind of low self-esteem, and certainly, I didn't have the best self-esteem. Thankfully, now it's like I feel pretty good about where I'm at, but
Yeah.
that varies day to day. But do you think there's ever a
Same.
point wherever I still don't. I don't feel like I was ever low enough or confident enough to just say, well, this is exactly this is how it is. And you need to be doing that too. I don't think I've ever.
I'm going to give you an example. So I keep a journal.
Yay. Okay. Continue.
When I croak, someone's going to have fun falling into a coma reading my journal from
No, we're going to make another
1990s.
podcast and we're going to read them with music in the background.
Well, if you look at like the way I was when I was 18, maybe 19, I haven't looked at my journals in decades, but one does stand out to me, one journal entry, and it lets me know how both insecure and how conceited I was, how they went hand in hand.
Okay.
I was working at the Beach Tree Cafe over the summer. I was a hostess there. And I kept coming in 5 minutes late. I didn't want to do the job. Sure. I was like, this sucks. All I do is go, hi, smoking or non-smoking? Yes, that's how old I am. Smoking or non-smoking? Where would you like to sit? And it was so boring. It was, because, But you know what? So my boss called me in and said, you can't be 5 minutes late. I want you to be here on time or 5 minutes early or something to that effect. And I wrote in my journal, what a fucking asshole. He's an asshole. Now, externally, I said, I'm so sorry. I won't do it. Sure. But I look at that 18-year-old entry and I'm like, two things. You're not taking responsibility. What is wrong with you, girl? What the hell is wrong with you? You have a
Mm-hmm.
job. You need to be there. He is right. You are wrong. That's where judgment is like black and white. Like there's very
Yeah.
few things in life that are black and white, but that was like, I'm late to work. My bad. I was wrong. I'm mea culpa. I take responsibility, move on. But I couldn't do that. And the
Yep.
reason I couldn't do that, Molly, was because of the unaddressed shame I was feeling for so long. I carried
Mm.
shame with me, like the way you carry, I don't know, our iPhones now. I carried it with
Mm-hmm.
me. It was a silent companion that I didn't want to look at. And so instead of addressing the shame, I got more conceited. But it was just a facade. And the anger at my boss was really misdirected anger at myself.
Sure. Yeah. I
And
like that.
when I look back, the first time I considered what that was, I was cringing at that teenager. I was like, oh my God, you're disgusting. And then I had more time away and I'm like, I felt bad for her
Yeah.
because she didn't know probably to look within and say, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
you're wrong here, and you know
Yeah.
you're wrong, but that doesn't make you a bad human. That makes
Right.
you a human. And I think we conflate the two. Humans are meant to be fallible. Humans are meant to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are meant to feel guilty, but we're not meant to feel shame.
Mm-hmm.
But because I felt shame back then, I wasn't willing to look under the hood and examine that. I don't know if I wasn't willing or I didn't know to do it, but it took a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time and distance to go, oh, sweetie, you were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just accept it and be on time. Don't get mad at him. Yeah.
That fucking piece of
Oh my
shit.
God, the curse words in my
The all
journal.
the
What
all
the fuck?
caps.
I was like, I could still see what he wore. Yes, exactly. I mean, what he drove. He the fucking his father owns that restaurant and he drives a red BMW and he thinks he's all that. It's like, no. Whether he
Just
does or
be on
doesn't, that couldn't
time.
have been easy for him to have that
Sure.
conversation with me.
Sure.
Yeah. But
Oh,
that's yeah. So to
little
answer your
Sheri.
question, I was insecure and
Mm-hmm.
conceited.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start is looking back on those journals, the journal entries, especially around that age.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wonder, like, after sometimes, you get in it with your teenager, the 6-year-old will just flat out tell you, but the teenager puts it away, goes up to his room. I wonder what's going through his mind. That fucking bitch, she doesn't know a thing. She idiot. What does she think? Can only imagine like what's going on in his brain sometimes.
Right. That anger, that if he has anger, it's usually because think about when you've been really angry. I'm not talking about when you're justified. When you're justified, it actually is a release in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like if someone cuts you off, you're like, what a fucking like you know the difference, right?
Right.
You're like, well, you're an asshole. But the one that comes from the wisest person in the world, yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's the one that like it has a different feeling to it.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It's not a good feeling.
No.
It's
That's the
it's icky.
difference.
It's
That's the
icky. Uh-huh.
difference. It's an icky feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it actually cultivates shame. Whereas if you were just
Yeah, that
willing to
makes
look under the
sense.
hood, it would have
Mm-hmm.
been like, oh, well, that's Sheri, you're guilty. You do show up 5 minutes late every day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I do. Then I could let it go and
Yeah.
say, I'll change my actions. I wasn't willing to accept the guilt, so I went right into shame.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's it, Molly. What about this, guys? What if shame is Untreated guilt. You know, like what is diabetes? It's untreated sugar control. So what if shame is unaddressed guilt? In some cases, because there's obviously cases where you have like abuse, and so there's shame that comes from that, and it's like that wasn't your fault.
Right.
So
well, yeah. So I definitely see how that could lead to the shame. It's just that pent up guilt, that those guilty.
Pent up. Yeah, it's
totally.
You gotta pop that zit.
And it's so good when you pop them.
It's so good. It's so
satisfying.
It is. What is it about that? Oh my God, we could have a whole episode about a whole relationship with acne. And I'm like, because I'm post-menopause, I'm really missing my zits.
Are you?
Yes. There's not many. I
got a teenager here. I could schedule a time next week.
I would love that.
That's a wrap, guys. Remember, when everything's going wrong, it just means you're crafting a great story. Stay tuned for more episodes when we turn life's lemons into laughable tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep finding the best in the worst, because life's too ridiculous not to laugh at it.